life. So that means that they have choice, they have dignity, they have respect, they have access to recreation things and kind of lifestyle pursuits that are meaningful to them. So it's not a one size fits all. You come here and this is what you eat and this is when you go to bed. So we try to make sure it's individualized and it's personal. And then the second thing we're always looking at and considering is taking good care of our staff. And so you really can't take care of your residents well if you don't take care of your staff, because that's the most valuable asset in any healthcare organization. And in most workplaces, that's your most valuable asset is your staff. So we try to take good care of our staff. We're very selective on who we allow to come work here. We're more inclined to hire someone who's friendly and outgoing and compassionate and train them to whatever skill set we need them for than to hire someone already trained who's kind of a jerk. We always look at residents, staff, we look at the protection of our financial interests, and that can be anything from just being very frugal, asking for discounts where they're available, doing things to recruit the best paying customers, acquiring different insurance contracts to keep us competitive, doing structural updates to keep us competitive. That also trickles down to our staff and residents or directly impacts them. So really anything to then protecting our legal interests, of course, because healthcare organizations are very vulnerable to frivolous lawsuits and different things like that. So taking care of our residents, our staff, our financial interests, and really in the longevity of our organization too. And then the last thing we look at is community involvement through, we participate in research studies through the university. We host a lot of students for training here. We collaborate with other community organizations like True North, Central Missouri Humane Society, the Food Bank. And then most recently, this is really cool. This is my excitement of the week. It's called Pay It Forward Mid-Missouri or something like that. And so they do all kinds of things to help struggling families. But we replace mattresses for one section of the building. We're doing that in phases because you can't replace 130 beds at once. So we replaced 34 mattresses in Walnut this week. And the other mattresses just weren't very comfortable anymore, but they've sure got a lot of life left in them. And we have special mattresses that you can just wipe off so there's not any kind of sanitation issue, or we don't have bed bugs or anything crazy. So this Pay It Forward organization gives beds to families who are victims of fire, flood, natural disaster, or kids looking for foster home placement, and they can't go into a foster home until they have a bed. And there were 8 kids waiting for beds. So we were able to donate our beds to this organization, and they were able to then place 8 kids who needed beds into better foster care. And then I don't know where the rest of the mattresses went, but it really was a big deal because they're the hardest mattresses for them to get, and they're the highest level of need. So we try to make sure that we support our community because our community also supports us, and we want to make sure that we're not ever becoming self-absorbed as an organization.
And then with having the vision, mission, and values that your company does have, do all of your members of your staff have access to that? Do they have a copy?
They do. I don't think that they sit around and recite it as much as I do. So it's actually on the back of our name tag, and we need to update it because it was written by someone else from another place in another time, and the organization at that time was very, I would say, formal and stuffy. I probably shouldn't say that on camera, but that is my interpretation of it, and you can tell that those are not my qualities. But so at the root of what's written, it's really good, but it just, considering that the majority of our staff has a high school education, I don't know that this is written in a format that they can simply understand it and just really buy into it. But we do talk about it. Sometimes they ask me for things like, could they have a covered smoking area? and I say, no, I'm not going to buy you a covered smoking area outside because that doesn't match our mission, vision, and values. Your screen's going black. So we talk about it a lot in decision making, and I know when I present to the board, I present talking about what are we doing to support our residents, our staff, our financial interests in our community. So that's how I approach everything. But if I went and asked the staff if they could recite it or tell me anything about it, they probably couldn't tell me. But that's something we could do better on. But at the core, they know that they know that we're frugal with money, that we don't waste it. They know that we support our community. They know that we support our staff and residents. So they know that. If they could recite it from a mission, vision, value standpoint, probably not.
What challenges about the job do you find most rewarding?
Oh man, it's something different every day, and you never know what's next. And so, really, everything that we do, like all of our goals, are moving targets because there's so many environmental factors that influence long-term care. For us, immediately, it's enough to keep things going in our building from day to day sometimes. But within our town, anytime there's a new competitor that comes to town, or one of our competitors builds a new building, or any number of things, if somebody's doing particularly poorly, that's good for us. If somebody else is doing particularly well, then that's not so good for us. Not that we always want to be the best anyway. But other things that influence us environmentally are like legislation changes in Medicare, Medicaid, because we do have the charity component to our organization being nonprofit. So half of the people are on government assistance, so we're very much at the mercy of state funding and the federal funding with Medicare. So there's a lot changing in how many people need care, what their expectations for care are, what they're looking for. So just like cultural expectations change. But what's interesting, even though expectations have increased, people can't shake the kind of ickiness that is long-term care out of their minds, because it's been a terrible place for many, many, many years, pretty much since its existence. I once had a speaker tell me that she read the regulations from like the 50s or something, and the regulation was that every single day you had to replace the newspapers for the residents, but the newspapers were under them on their mattress, and that's what they used to clean up episodes of incontinence. So this is like, they don't know that specific detail, but they know that they were really scary, terrible places for old people to go. So there's a lot of environmental factors that continue to change. So the expectations are improving, or the expectations are raising, but still there's a lot of fear and a lot of negative stereotypes about what nursing homes are like. So but that's not even. So that's like, so I tend to be the person that has to keep us thinking about the future and what's coming next and anticipating changes. Day to day, it's just, always trying to figure out ethical dilemmas, like an older adult who lives here and what they want to do versus what their adult children want them to do. So that's helping day to day, helping families with either interpersonal issues or ethical dilemmas within families. Helping people prepare for the end of life, helping people come to an understanding that it was their plan to come here and recover, but that's not going to be realistic, helping families with difficult situations as people have dementia and they continue to decline and lose more independence and sense of awareness and understanding of what's going on. And then just, I guess, keeping it staffed and dealing with interpersonal issues between 132 people that live under the same roof. I kind of liken it to roommates living together or people living in a dorm. they generally like it, but there are always going to be issues that come up. So it's always something new and different, and sometimes it's just so out of this world, I can't even believe it. But it's really a fun, dynamic job. It's also really cool because we don't have a big corporate structure that has this like top-down authority that comes and tells us what to do. So that's really nice. So it's, for me, that's a really good thing because I did work in that environment. I didn't really like it very much. That would not suit me. So I guess just like we're kind of going out into the yonder and we don't know what's next. And that's just really exciting when you look at the long-term forwardness.
And then with like the issues that you mentioned, is there a certain way that you handle